Hi, it's Joseph again, and I'm going to talk about some more things relating to art. And I know about this time you're going, not another art video. But that's what you're going to get. And actually today I'm going to be talking about photography again, because, well, that seems to be my particular interest right at this moment. Wanted to talk about something specifically. This is my new to me camera. It's not new, but it's new to me. And this is my new to me lens, which was actually a refurbished lens from the manufacturer. Now, this says on the lens that it's a macro lens. And you're probably thinking, that sure doesn't look like a macro lens. It's not big, it's not heavy. How can that be a macro lens? Well, you do have to step close to things. Well, I guess you do with a regular macro lens too, but it will function as a macro lens. Now the nice thing about this lens is that it will also function as sort of an everyday lens to take pictures of things like landscapes. And like I said, the advantages are, as you can see, it's small, it's light. Now obviously you can see that I use Canon. This is an EF-S lens, so this can only be used on the APS-C sensors, or we could go into a lot more of that, or I could just mention, if you don't have the little white square, you don't use that lens, it goes on the little white square, not the red bump or dot. So that's the simple way of knowing it's for the smaller sensor cameras. But I didn't want to spend a whole lot of money on the camera, but I wanted a decent camera, so I got a camera that is still a nice camera, but not as expensive as the top-of-the-line cameras that they make. Now, when you take the lens cap off, you can see, wow, the lens looks really tiny, but it doesn't look tiny once you look through it. Part of that has to do with the fact that it's made for the smaller sensors. Part of that has to do with various other design things that I don't really know a whole lot about designing lenses, but I really like this lens. Actually, you can get a new one from the manufacturer for about $150 as of the time of this video, which is reasonable for a new lens. Now this one costs, I believe, less than $100 because it was refurbished and on sale, and also came with a 1-year warranty. So you can't really beat that for a lens that you can take a lot of different pictures with. Now I also have a 50mm lens, but that lens you cannot get up as close to things. Now this lens says you can get up to it says about half a foot. I think I've possibly even gotten a little bit closer. I'm not sure if I didn't actually measure, but whenever I was taking photos of some flowers, it felt like I was stuffing it into the face of the flower. Now, I will mention this isn't, and watch me stick my finger on the lens instead of putting the cap on, but this is one of the STM version lenses. Now it has an encoder. This is not actually attached physically to the insides of the camera, so this will only run when it's attached and receiving power from a camera. So you can't focus it when it's not on. You can't change the focus when the lens is not on, or when the camera's not on, or the lens is detached from the camera. So don't think that it doesn't work because you turn the dial when the camera's off and it doesn't do anything. It's supposed to do that. Now, this is the EF-S. It's the S because it's for the smaller sensors. The 24mm lens that, like I said, says on the body that it was a macro. It didn't even say that necessarily on the description, but you can get really close to things. You can take macro photos, and you can take landscape photos. And the other thing is since my hands are a little bit shaky, I usually need to use a shutter speed of 60 or above, because, well, otherwise the pictures tend to be shaky. Well, I can get plenty of light on many settings. I can take landscape photos where a lot of things are in focus at like f11 or higher than that, and still be well above that even at 100 ISO. which you can't necessarily do depending on the lens. Some of the lenses you won't have enough light at those settings. Now, and as you can tell by that, I do like to play around with the settings of the camera. And as far as the lens, I have actually been really happy with it. It feels really sturdy. It actually has I believe it had a metal mount. I don't want to take it off here and, blow like pollen or something like that into it, because that obviously wouldn't be a good idea. But I haven't really found it to be loud. I know some people have mentioned that the STM lenses they thought were a little loud. I haven't really noticed. It's quieter than whenever you have it up on your face. The focusing motor is quieter than the shutter operating, so I'm not sure exactly what people were talking about, or maybe it depends on the lens, but this one in particular, I haven't noticed it being really that loud. Now, it does sound a little bit different when you're on manual focus, but I still don't find it loud. But maybe that's because I've never had a lens that's like what people consider to be completely silent, but it's plenty silent for me. It's not going to bother anything. And considering many people turn the beep on their camera, stuff like that, it's obviously not going to be anywhere near as annoying as the beeping and things like that. So I think that's about all I have to say about this lens, unless I can figure out how to get some photos that I took with it into the video, which I will try to figure out how to do. I don't know if I will be able to, because I'm not a person who does videos, but
so how close do you get with it?
I can get pretty close with the lens. Here, I gotta wake it up. I'm going to, I guess it doesn't really matter what aperture I have it on, but I have it on autofocus. It's clearly still focusing fine. It's still refocusing. It's still refocusing. It's still refocusing. It's still able to pick up focus at this distance. Now I'm starting to get in past where it can focus, but about right here is where it's able to focus. So I can take pretty much a picture of the entire camera that's filming me from that distance. That's the other neat thing, is since it's a 24 millimeters, you can get more in the picture. Like whenever you're doing landscapes, it's not as limited as if you were using because it has a wider field of view. It's not just that, it has that's again a whole lot of lens design, but you can get a lot in the picture. Sometimes whenever you're taking a landscape and you go, oh, I wish I could get that tree too. Well, you can usually do that a little bit easier with this lens than, if you're using something that's a little bit different. Now, each lens obviously has its benefits and drawbacks, but as far as a lens that you can do multiple different things with, this seems to be a really nice lens that I've been really happy with in the time that I've had it. It seems to work really well. I did actually just realize today that because it requires power, I like the lenses in whenever I put them in a bag. The focusing area, I don't know if you can see that, but it doesn't move in and out a whole lot. But I figured out that if I put the cap on and press the button, it will actually press the shutter button halfway, it will actually retract the lens, so it's in there like I like. I don't know if some people care about that. I do, because I always worry that, it's going to get bumped or something. If it's extended out, it's obviously going to, I would think, be a little more pressure on the internal components of the lens. And the only thing that I've noticed different about it than the other lenses is I spend a little bit more time putting on the lens cap, but that's probably just because it's a different lens cap than the lens caps that's used on the other lenses that I have. And I think that's about all I have to say about this lens. Of course, as soon as I say I'm done, I'll probably think of something else, but I'm going to just stop right there before I talk anymore and be a whole lot more annoying. So that will be all.